Hello, Team Hope, and welcome to Wonderful Wednesday. That's what we like to call it when we get on team calls. Just the four of us all the time, and when the rest of you get on, game on. You'll understand why we call it Wonderful Wednesday. So today, a little bit of a treat for you. Last week, I went to, well, I guess it's been 2 weeks now, I went to Dave Ramsey, live in person, 10 feet away from me, and he talked for a long, long time, and I've taken out some golden nuggets for you today, 5 of them. So get your pens hot and your paper close because you're going to want to write these down. You're going to want to write this down. In case you don't know, my name's Jenny. I'm one of your team leaders. I'm gold today, but just for today. I only have a few days left of being gold. And by the time you're watching this, you'll probably say, wow, that wasn't that long ago that you were gold. Now you're diamond. That's awesome. I know. Thanks. Thanks in advance. All right. So these are Dave Ramsey's tips about 5 things that are critical to succeed in business. Number one. Well, before we start, let me just say, he said, common sense does work in leadership and when you manage money. Now, of course, we're in the people business here in Plexus and getting them healthy, and common sense will work. So as you listen to these 5 tips, you're going to be like, this makes total sense. Why haven't I thought of that? It's because Dave's really smart. So number 1, leadership is essential. What often happens is that in business, or even sometimes on our own teams, we hire people who are not leaders and we expect them to lead. The difference is that if you have a boss, if you're in the workplace, or if you have a leader on your team, bosses push. They push for things to get done and for people to have results. That is not leadership. A leader will pull with you and be helpful. A real leader makes good choices to benefit his or her entire team. And he talked a lot about being loyal and having integrity and knowing that the people on your team are going to notice if you're genuine or not. Now that's within our business, within Plexus, this is actually something I think is done really well generally, but definitely a growing point because people are loyal and people are open. In fact, for this call, I wore my One Plexus shirt today because it is absolutely the culture of this business, which is for people to look out for each other. That is not always the case, and certainly not in pretty much any field of business. So people love each other, people help each other. They call them, your sideline sisters or your sideline teammates, and they'll help you. They have your back. I mean, this team leadership absolutely has your back, and now as our team is growing, sideline people are starting to lean on each other through accountability, and it's awesome. So the culture of leadership and development is very strong here, but if you don't have leadership, you're not going to have a strong business. So that was number 1. Number 2, people are essential. Now this is a people business, so it's not a shock to hear that people are essential, but what Dave was saying is you need to understand that we cannot treat people like a revenue stream. It is not, people aren't just a source of our business building bonus. They aren't just yay, I've signed a new customer. I am finally back on track to hit the consistency club. This is not a numbers game. They are people and they need to matter. What is really cool about what he said is whether it's good or bad, people on your team, you should know what's going on with them. If there's great stuff, you should know. If there's bad stuff, you should know. And if it's a few levels down, if it's not your level 1, your level 2, maybe your level 3, someone should know what's going on in your people's lives. Let's not lose my spot. So whether it's you or I have a level 2 to me who I've become pretty close with, and you know who you are. And I know all kinds of things that is going on in her life. All kinds of things that she has shared with me, and I know some of the obstacles she's up against, and I can follow up, and you can feel when the interest and concern is genuine. That's part of what builds such a strong trust base in business. So you need to be aware of your people and be genuinely interested. Something else about people are essential is to remember that our competitors, any competitors, are also people. So if other people that are in network marketing or people who are in regular brick and mortar business come if they come at us or if they're naysayers and whatever, we don't have to go down that road because they're still people and we can still be respectful also. And we don't need to kill them. We don't need to bad talk them because that doesn't do anything but diminish the value that we are portraying. So remember that being competitive or being, you don't have to kill your competition. Either way, if you just keep doing the right things, if you are genuine, if you are working hard, you'll outlast them, which is totally true. All right, so people matter. Number three, financial principles. We're not going to spend a lot of time on financial principles, but let me say this. He repeated this a couple of times when he was presenting, and I thought that is so, so true. When I borrow, I increase the size of my mistakes. When I borrow, I increase the size of my mistakes. You can really appreciate that when it comes to typical business investment, which is usually hundreds of thousands of dollars or more. One of the nicest things about Plexus is it's a drop. It's at $35 for a year. That's not an investment that anyone can't live with. But as people are reluctant to maybe take a plunge, or should be cautious at least, because when you have invested a lot of money into it, you now have a much larger liability. And of course, all of your financial decisions will get their little fingers into all the rest of the facets of your life and make you feel stress where you can avoid it. And he shared a quote from Warren Buffett, which was so good. He said, when the tide goes out, which is when there are skinny times in business and you're kind of barely making it over the line into being profitable or whatever, he said, when the tide goes out, you can always see who was skinny dipping. Truth. Everyone's going to have times where margins are not as good, or you're not making as much money, or maybe my team didn't grow as much. And as long as you are minimizing unnecessary expenses, it's not a stressor. Dave talked a lot about how he said, in 2008 when the downturn was happening on and we were having the recession, he said, everyone was freaking out, and I kept saying, why are they so worried? Why are they so worried? Which it was a worry for a lot of people, and we were included in that. And he said, oh, you know why I'm not worried? Because I have some cash in the bank. I haven't overextended, and hopefully people appreciate that about Plexus because it does not require an arm and a leg to get started. This is a business that anyone, Will's moving a chair, anyone can come up with $35. And let's be honest, there are enough deals coming from time to time. It probably won't even cost you that if your timing is good. And if not, whatever, it's $35. You went out to Cracker Barrel. It's $35. So you be smart with your money. Number 4, this is an awesome one, is unity and team quality. Now, Dave spent quite a bit of time talking about the difference between thoroughbreds and donkeys in the workplace. And he said, you'll see the thoroughbred come in and it's the rock star and he's working. She's totally killing it and surrounded by donkeys, or there are some donkeys in the workplace. And he said, the thoroughbreds don't want to work with the donkeys. The donkeys feel super uncomfortable around the thoroughbred. And what you need to understand is that, and he quoted a friend of his who is Jim Collins, the author of Good to Great. And he said, if you have people on your team now that you wouldn't hire again, you need to let them go. You can do it kindly and say, we have a team culture and you're not getting it done. I love you. See you later. And be willing to let that go just to maintain your team unity. It's worth it. It's worth it to keep the tone and the culture that you want. Oops, my phone closed. He said, it does take time to build the team that you want. And of course, we want to share products with everyone. We want people to be on our team, but we've been learning that there are challenges when culture is not consistent throughout. So we can strive to have an expectation of what the culture will be. You want to join the team? This is what we're about. And he said, you should have a donkey-ectomy regularly. Wow. All right. And he said, if you're unclear with your expectations when you're building your team, it's unkind. to do that. Make sure you are upfront with people about what kind of a team you're building and what your expectations will be. He said, if your team can't be loyal, if they're back talking, if there's gossiping, if they're down on leadership, they need to go. Something that's really neat about Plexus is in my 2 years and change that I've been with Plexus now, I can't think of not one time that anyone has said anything bad about Alec Clark, the president of our company. Anyone? Can you guys think of any time? Tarl Robinson? Never. There is nothing but praise for the leadership in this company. And you can say the same thing about our uplines and about, the culture is so good and so unified. It's one of the nicest things that sets Plexus apart from other things that some people have tried. All right. He said within that team, the last thing for unity, he said, you need to have high levels of communication which allow you to argue constructively. He said it takes a very high level of trust if you disagree to be able to argue constructively and disagree and fight. He said you can fight, just do it constructively with a tone of respect, and that takes a lot of trust. And that way you can remove different toxicity. People are able to hear feedback and be open to it because there's such a great culture of team building. Whew, I know your hands are getting tired, but there's only one left. One left. Shake those pens. Now this is number 5 is actually, when I was at the presentation, I was like, ooh, I know what he's gonna say. He said, number 5, you've got to have a higher calling. A higher calling. We, in Plexus, we like to call that our why. In a lot of businesses, they call it your why. And he said, your why, of course, is something that drives you. It's what keeps you coming, even on the days that are rough. And your why should be something that is known to your team, to your downline, to your customers. When people are like, well, why this? Your why is that answer. Why am I doing this? What am I? And if you haven't gone in and watched all the team videos, you need to go to Finding Your Why, because we had such a great call that day where Christy was helping Tiffany find her why, and it's emotional. And little insight, if you don't know this, your why can change over time. It's totally fluid. And I think there's a pretty good chance that my why is in a metamorphic state right now. And it will, I'm not going to talk about it on this call because without a doubt, it will be emotional. So it will go straight to your core of why you're doing this. He actually gave an example of Chick-fil-A. He's friends with the guys who own Chick-fil-A. And he said, the owner wants to be able to be a role model to these teenage kids who are in single parent families or have whatever going on with their parents that aren't able to be good role models. He said, Chick-fil-A is not in the chicken business. It's in the teenager business. They're in the teenager business where they look to give these teenagers an opportunity to learn respect, be responsible. And he said, you will never find a more polite teenager than when you go to the counter at Chick-fil-A. And he said, what will you always hear them say? It'd be my pleasure. I saw Deanna saying it. It'd be my pleasure. So figure out what your why is, and then it will resonate with people and they'll feel how genuine you are. Anyway, that is the 5. Dave just wrapped up and said, it is our opportunity to serve people. It is definitely our opportunity with this business in Plexus to serve people. And once you can figure out your why and put these into practice, your team feels it. All the good things in business success coming down the pipe at you. All right, I think that's it. Have a great day. Peace out, team.